Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to this review of the RaptGo Bridge IEM. This is something that people have been asking for and I wasn't too sure why, hadn't heard about these IEMs, and then I got them in and I picked up this box and I was like, damn, that is a hefty feeling box. Felt premium, presentation absolutely excellent with the box, but then I opened it up and the earphones came in this, which is, I'm going to say, the best carry case that I've ever seen from any company at any price point. This is interesting looking, it's well made, it feels solid, it's heavy, it's got this soft touch fake leather bottom on it. Stops it from sliding about. It just feels super premium and the presentation felt exciting on it. The earphones came left earphone, right earphone, and the cable on the inside there. You have the ear tips on the right hand side, different sizes, different styles, and then you get the interchangeable filters and this little SIM tool that we'll talk about in a second. The cool thing about this is that under here there is actually a magnet, so you can see there the SIM tool slots in, the filters slot in, and nothing can fall out because it's held in place by magnets. Really cool place to keep your earphones. Is it practical for carrying about? Are you going to put that in your pocket? Absolutely not. Throwing it in a backpack as well is it's a fair bulky unit and it is quite heavy once you get in hand, but in terms of presentation and cool factor, RaptGo get a win on this one. So if we move that off to the side, we take a look at the earphones for the first time. And when I got them in, let me first discuss the cable by removing this 2-pin connector. So they are 2-pin connector flush mounted. They come in a 3.5mm right angle jack. So I do like that it's a right angle jack. I also like that it's this slim little design. I think that's really cool. But you're not going to be able to use this with a balanced cable unless you're going to switch it out for one that is separate. For example, here is a cable from Linso with a 4.4mm balanced connector on the end of it. Anyway, the cable itself is a little bit on the springy side and a little bit memory retentive. It is just a single strand, well it's a strand with braiding on the inside of it, but it does transfer some microphonics up and down it. It does have a metal splitter and cable cinch on it, and as I say, it is terminated in a 2-pin connector configuration. The earphones are super well made, like really premium feeling and nicely built, very much in line with what we saw on the RaptGo Hook X. Is it going to be something that's a super luxury high-end IEM like the Monarch for comparison? Absolutely not. But it's a very cool design, and the way that this sits in your ear is actually more tilted up the way, so don't think that it sits flush to your head like this. It will actually tilt in, and this piece will sit in your tragus, anti-tragus, with this piece flowing over the back towards the back of your ear, and then the cable coming around obviously to the front. It is a fairly small earphone considering the amount of drivers on the inside of it, and you can see this filter in here. You can see filters on the end here which we can switch out, and you can see one of the little drivers on the inside there. You just close that over before any dust and stuff comes in. I'll take the balanced connector out, and the only thing is it is really fiddly because there's not much to grab on, but basically you twist it anti-clockwise, comes off as such. There we go, and then you stick it on. Now I'm not going to do that because I actually like the stock ones that came in. I found that they were the best sort of balance for me in terms of punching up the low end on it. I'll put them back in there. Yeah, so the build quality is really good. It sits at a medium depth insertion because there's slightly long nozzle on it. And the other thing that you will be noticing on the back here, of course, is going to be this. And that is why I thought I could do it on camera without the tool, but obviously not because I've just cut my nails today. You get in there and you can switch the settings there, and then the manual is going to tell you how to operate that. Now for me, I pretty much just left everything stock. That's the way I like to listen to it. I think that's the way that most people are going to listen to it because that's the way an earphone should be tuned out the box. These sort of tuning things are a gimmick. If you think that you are going to be switching this out, oh, you know, I'm going to listen to some Infecting Mushroom today, let me just switch it out and put it on for a more bassy mode, and oh, you know, I'm going to listen to some jazz, let me just switch it out and put on the more balanced nozzle. You're not going to do that. I learned a long time ago from the RHA T20, RHA T20, who were one of the first ones to become popular with interchangeable nozzles, that you will attach the tuning that you like and then you will leave it there for the rest of time and you will never change. So get over that right away. Now I'm going to talk about the sound and the tuning in the respective form that it comes in, just stock configuration, just so that you can get an idea of it. And I found that these were not what I was expecting. I was expecting something that was maybe going to be, just looking from the tuning graph on it that I'd seen, I was expecting it was going to be much more aggressive and weighted in the low end. For example, I just got off the review of the 7Hz legato, which you'll also find on the channel. If it's not up now, it's coming up after the review of this is published. I thought it was going to be more bass prominent and sort of fast and energetic, but what I actually got was a leaner end on the bass. It's quite, the sub bass is actually more prominent than the mid bass, which was strange because having those two drivers in it, you thought you could have balanced out one driver for each of it, but that's not the case. So the weight in the low end was not as heavy as I was expecting, but that's not a bad thing because it had adequate speed, decent punch, and it didn't bleed into the mid-range, which I thought was quite good. The mid-range on it was quite recessed in terms of the bass and the treble. I found it displayed good, really good detail, actually, detail, clarity, separation and stuff like that, but it was just sitting recessed behind the other two frequencies. I found the male vocals were maybe lacking a little bit, but female vocals actually showed really strong performance, as did higher ended strings. So like more weightier strings, like a cello, for example, didn't seem to carry the weight and impact that I would have wanted from this. Instead, I found that it worked best for higher end strings, like for example, the violin, viola, that sort of stuff, also piccolo, that sort of stuff, getting into flute. In jazz recordings was there, but then going back over into winded instruments, you're talking about something like a deeper note in a saxophone. It lacked that sort of reverberation and grumble, but again, it had lots of clarity and spacing in it, so it was quite weird the way that I think that piezoelectric was presenting the sound stage in it. In terms of treble, I actually thought it was going to be far more extended and a little bit more painful than this, but it was actually quite well done. It was refined, detailed, it had good extension without going too far. Overall, I liked it, but the problem is that I like other stuff more at this price point. I think there's a lot of good earphones that I'm going to link down below as alternatives rather than bringing them up here, but obviously one of the ones that I would talk about is the Tin Hi-Fi P1. It is far superior in terms of sound quality. I think also the P1 has a better design, even though it's a bit boring. It's smaller, it's more comfortable for me, and it has a better cable than the RaptGo Hook X. If you pair up the P1 with a set of ASLAS end-of-fit tips, you've got a really powerful, very hard to beat earphone at that price. But again, you're going to have to throw in an account for powering it, having some sort of amplification to get the most out of a P1. This wasn't particularly power hungry at all. I found that it worked very well with a cheap amplifier, cheap DAC or something like that. I was using it with the Shanling M0 and a couple of other ones, more expensive ones, but I didn't find that I had any problem drawing power out of it, which was a little bit of a surprise. But it's a very good sounding earphone. It's very unique and it's very competent, but I think it might not have been what I was expecting, just in terms of the presentation, the way, you know, I was looking at those two dual dynamic drivers and I was like, this is going to have some punchy bass and high energy with the piezoelectrics. In actuality, what I got was a far more refined sort of listening experience with a less aggressive bass on it. Definitely in comparison, just coming off of the Legato review, which is a thunderous little bass monster at about $100. So I'll finish this review dropping them all over the table, but if you want to go and check them out, the links are in the description. And yeah, really nice earphone from RaptGo.